Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and in this video I'm going to tell you why calories aren't the only thing that matter in a weight loss program. So, recently I've been reading a few books, and one of which was The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. And although I had already known that calories weren't the only thing that matter, there are many people on YouTube who will either tell you that they don't matter if they're very far towards the keto end of things. I am as well. However, calories do matter, but they don't matter as much as you think they do. And there's actually a large amount of weight loss that is driven by what you're eating, what your calories are, rather than the total number of calories. So a lot of people on YouTube like to make things seem very unsophisticated and make it seem as if calories in, calories out is the only thing that matters. And although lots of weight loss programs will work if you cut your calorie intake in half, however, that doesn't really tell us the precise way to actually lose fat as effectively as possible and maintain your muscle. So for me, I kind of want to start this series because I want to talk about biohacking bodybuilding. That's something new I want to bring to YouTube. And as somebody who is very interested in supplement side of things and also the nutrition side of things, I want to bring a new approach to a lot of people. So I'm very excited about that, and this is something that I really want to dive into because I think it's something unique that I can offer particularly. But I'll get right into it. Calories. They don't, a calorie in, calorie out. If that is your sole belief on weight loss, you can learn more. That's what it is. It's a very unsophisticated approach to things, and a lot of people will tell you that that's all that matters. Now, if calories in, calories out is the only thing that matters, then technically every calorie should be the same. 1 calorie of fat should be the same in terms of your body's response to 1 calorie of carb or 1 calorie protein. However, we know that metabolically your body does different things with each of those macronutrients, and your actual makeup of energy sources of your calories, right, is far more important. So think of it like this. When your body takes in proteins, any excess proteins will be put into your muscles or stored. Extra amino acids will be stored or converted into glycogen to later be stored in either your liver or your muscles. Now, if you eat only proteins, you can imagine that someone who eats only sugar, the exact same amount of calories, would have very different body compositions. And a reason why, that's a very simple argument to make, right? But a reason why calories in, calories out isn't the only thing that matters is because carbohydrates in particular have a very insulinogenic effect on your body, which means they literally raise insulin, which flushes muscle into your muscles, carbohydrates and proteins basically. Basically. So when you have carbohydrates being flushed into your muscles, any excess will be stored as stored energy. That is the purpose of fat. Think about the purpose of carbohydrates. They're energy for your body, which it can use almost instantly. It's very quick to digest, and in nature, any excess energy your body could hang on to, it's going to store because we need to survive. Now, I'm going to throw some studies at you momentarily, but when it comes to the actual theory of this, you have to understand that it's a universal law that when you cut your calories in half, your body is going to reduce its expenditure of calories by the same token. So if you cut your calories by 50%, your intake of calories, your body's expenditure of calories is going to drop by the same exact margin. So because your body doesn't want to die. If your metabolic rate stayed the same when you cut your calories, then you would lose all of your body fat within weeks. But that's not how your body works. It wants to survive. And what it wants to do is when you cut your calories in half, it's not going to use the same amount, which forces cardio. And that's why you'll see a lot of bodybuilders on YouTube doing hours and hours of Stairmaster, hours of treadmill, which I still do my fair share of treadmill and Stairmaster on my cuts. But when it comes to reducing your fat loss or increasing fat loss, it's not sustainable and not healthy to be doing hours of Stairmaster every day to force your body to burn its own fat. When your body's in a carbohydrate-based metabolism, right, opposed to a ketogenic metabolism, fat-based metabolism, your body's only going to be using only going to be using fats until until you've gotten rid of all your glycogen, all your energy from carbs. So right away, if you're on a carb-based metabolism, your body's always going to prefer to use carbohydrates. And that is why people have to force so much cardio and actual expenditure of calories when they're on a carb-based calories in, calories out diet. When you do a ketogenic diet or a fat-based metabolism diet, right? Interchangeable terms there. When you are on a fat-based metabolism, your body is always burning fat, which is why people will often tell you, even if you're on a glycogen, carb-based metabolism, that you should do your cardio fasted, because that's when you're going to dip into the fat stores. That's the exact terms people will say on YouTube, because they just pick the same studies, cherry pick the same studies. And when it comes to doing fasted cardio, the reason why it works is because your body has presumably used up most of the energy from the day before, and now, before you've ate anything, this is where your body's closest to getting rid of the glycogen stores and closest to burning actual fat, because you're in the fasted state and the body doesn't want to, it's not going to be flushing any new insulin into your muscles for you to use. So the point here is, even if you take that premise of people telling you to do your fasted cardio, even on a carb-based diet, that premise already indicates that if you were, for whatever reason, in using fat stores, cardio would be better, right? It makes sense. So if you do a ketogenic diet and you combine that with intermittent fasting and do your cardio there, I guarantee you, performing your cardio in that time window on the specific, a fat-based metabolism, you will get more out of 20 minutes of cardio than you will from 30 minutes of calories in, calories out cardio done more times in the week. And it makes sense, because if your body's running on fat, which it will do if you're on a ketogenic diet and you use intermittent fasting as well, if your body is running on fat, you are basically going to be burning fat even as you're going to work, even as you're doing anything before you actually intake food, right? And if you're on a keto diet, fasting and ketosis are very similar. In fact, they mimic each other, because when you don't have any food in your body, if you fasted, if you stopped eating for 3 days straight, you would be in very deep ketosis. And the reason why you hit ketosis, sorry, I turned on my lamp there. The reason why you hit ketosis when you cut out all carbohydrates is because you're forcing your body to use energy from its own fat. And yes, you can do calories in, calories out, but every calorie doesn't go towards your body composition. Calories do a large role for maintaining your body temperature, for growing hair, for making your nails stronger, for a variety of different processes in the body. Detoxifying the body, cleansing of the body. A lot of your calories are being used for maintaining the body, besides just your weight loss. Weight loss is not the only thing that calories do. Your body needs energy for a lot of things inside of yourself. So when it comes to managing a ketogenic diet, all you really have to do, as far as what concerns fat loss, is basically be in ketosis, right, which will be deepened by entering the fasted state in ketosis, and from there you can do any excess exercise, right, low intensity, anything, going to work, walking around, being on your feet all day. That is what will be the primary driver of fat loss there. Now, calories are the primary driver of fat loss overall. And maybe even calling them the primary driver of fat loss isn't the right term, because they do have a very strong effect on fat loss when you drop them low enough. However, if you were to have one person who's eating only fats, one person who's eating only proteins, one person who's eating only carbs, their body compositions would be completely different. Just because calories in, calories out will result in fat loss doesn't mean it's the only driver of fat loss. The primary driver of fat loss, you can almost view it as energy. And if you take out more of external energy, exogenous energy coming into your body, so if you take out carbohydrates, your body's going to be in a similar state of lacking energy, within which it would need to pull from its own energy. So if you want a calorie-based diet and on the same amount of deficit as somebody on a ketogenic diet, the person who is in a ketogenic diet is going to have less exogenous energy coming in, because it's solely going to be dietary fat and maybe a small amount of protein, which is going to turn into glycogen, small amount of glycogen. Somebody who is eating carbohydrates, their body is going to prioritize using the carbs first. So you're only going to be burning fat when your body has used its glycogen stores. So, of course, overnight there is some fat burning that's going to occur. Of course, in the time between your meals, when your insulin is lower, your fat burning is going to increase, even on the carb-based metabolism. However, lowering your insulin overall, insulin basically cancels out any fat burning that's going to happen. And when you eat carbohydrates, your body's going to produce insulin as a response to taking in sugar, because it needs to transport that. And if you transport that sugar into your muscles in your body, because if your blood sugar was too high, you would die. So what happens is, somebody who is eating carbs, if you're eating carbs, you're not only going to be more hungry more often, right? Which is, doesn't necessarily have to affect your total calories, but you're going to be hungry more often. And if you're eating more often, more frequently, you're going to be steadily spiking and keeping your insulin afloat, right? If this was a graph, right? If your insulin is more stable, more, even through fasting, if you keep it low for a large portion of the day, right, which would happen when you're in the fasted state, even on a carb metabolism, if your insulin is stable and your blood sugar is stable, your body is more likely to pull energy from its fat stores. So even if you take that premise right there, when your body has insulin surging through it, being produced from the pancreas, because people who are like diabetic can't produce insulin, type 1 diabetic, what happens is, if your body doesn't have energy coming in, then it's going to be forced to pull from its own fat stores. So basically, calories in, calories out does matter because it's energy, but you have to consider energy that your body is going to prioritize using. And there was a study that I was referring to before that was mentioned in this book that I was reading, the Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung, called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. And this is a famous experiment. Maybe some of you have even heard of it, but it's where they took mostly men, I'm pretty sure, I think all men, and what they did was they took these men and they put them on a calorie deficit of like half, 50% of their calorie, I'm pretty sure. They were like 3,000 calorie maintenance, and they were eating 1,500 a day. And what these men noticed is that they were feeling colder in the day, they were losing some of their hair, their nails were brittle, and what basically had happened was the calories that they were eating, they were on a carbohydrate-based metabolism, and the calories they were eating were basically, their body was dialing down what it was using energy for. So example, your body's going to prioritize survival. So if you're starved and you're in starvation, your body's going to decide, hey, we don't need this hair as much as we need to keep the heart beating. So some of the energy that's going to be used for keeping your heart beating is going to be prioritized, opposed to growing your nails or growing your hair or other processes in your body. The most important processes are going to be prioritized because your body is smart. It doesn't want to die. So when it comes to what you're putting in your body, the reason you could hack your bodybuilding or your fat loss with a ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting is because you can still eat, in a deficit on this diet. And what will happen is, as long as your deficit isn't ridiculous, you will still lose a considerable amount of weight. And of course, there have been studies that have shown that ketosis compared to calories in, calories out yields very similar fat loss, right? I have two problems with that. Most of all, because most of those studies were not in fat adapted individuals on ketosis. However, calories in, calories out is still an undeniable driver of fat loss. But the point is, you don't necessarily need to push calories in, calories out in order to reap the benefits of fat loss. All you have to do is, you could throw in a mix of the both. You need a deficit of some sort because your body needs energy. For most people who are really overweight, they don't even necessarily need to lower the calories that much because they have so much on their body that it's going to dip into it really quickly. But the point is, you want a mix of the two. You want a slight deficit, healthy, nothing that's going to turn off processes in your body, nothing that's going to make your body produce less testosterone, nothing that's going to make your body produce more cortisol, nothing that's going to put your body in the state of starvation mode, because ketosis is the complete opposite of starvation mode. What ketosis actually is the biggest tool to maintaining muscle and burning fat, because there have been many studies where ketones have been present in the blood, and the body is less likely to use proteins as an energy source. So if you do a ketogenic diet and throughout the time that you're fasting as well, if you are familiar with intermittent fasting, your body is less likely to burn its own muscle because your body can't convert protein into fat. It can convert protein into carbs. So if you're eating a carb-based diet, you're more likely to burn through your own muscle because your body, if it's ever short on carbohydrates, it's going to go, oh shit, we got to pull from some of this muscle here, guys, and make some carbs, make some glycogen, gluconeogenesis, the process of making carbs from proteins. But if your body's in the metabolism using fats, it's not going to go, hey guys, let's make some carbs. It's not using carbs. It's like if you have an electric car, when you run out, you're not going to fill it up with gas because it doesn't use that. And the point is, ketones are the biggest tool to maintaining muscle and burning fat. And besides the fact that when ketones are present in your blood, you're less likely to use your own proteins, what that actually does is, if you were to not eat anything, the reason your body breaks down ketones is because if you are fat adapted, so doing keto for longer than a period of like 4 or 5 weeks, right, for most people, if you're fat adapted, your body is going to be so efficient at burning its own fat that yes, it will dial down the total amount of pounds you lose because it doesn't want to, run through all of its energy in one day, right? All of its fat, all of its stored energy. What it wants to do is it wants to keep you as efficient body composition as possible. So what that means is it wants to prioritize keeping your muscle so you can live and fight off bears and tigers and wildebeest and shit. But what it wants to do is it wants to also keep a stable, sustainable energy source through fats, fatty acids, and ketones. And the reason a lot of people have a hard time doing the ketogenic diet, because what I'm recommending here is mixing the two, intermittent fasting and ketosis, for optimal fat loss and muscle retention. The reason people have a hard time is because oftentimes they're too addicted to sugar, or their metabolism isn't quite adapted to ketosis yet, because many of the benefits of ketosis come after you're adapted to using fat. So what that even means is your brain needs a certain amount of ketones. It will predominantly use ketones and a small amount of carbohydrates for its energy. And what will happen is, after you've been fat adapted, your performance in many areas is going to go up because your body is a lot better at giving energy to your brain. Even think of your central nervous system and weightlifting. It plays a big role in how much strength you can exert. And if your body isn't adapted yet to ketosis, if you hop into ketosis for 2-3 weeks, you're definitely going to see some performance drop. But the point I'm trying to make here is commit to learning about the ketogenic diet, commit to learning about intermittent fasting. And if you can use the two of them together, you won't need to destroy your calorie intake every day and destroy the processes in your body. You want your body to be performing as best as it can. And guess what? If you manage a diet like that, going into the bulk or whatever, maintenance phase you follow after your diet is going to be a lot easier. Keto is not a crash diet because what it does is it makes you more insulin sensitive, which means that your body is going to be better at using carbohydrates after you're done the diet. People who lower their calories a lot, even in that Minnesota starvation experiment, they were so fascinated with food. They were like obsessing over food or cookbooks or items like that because they were so deprived of food and their body had so little energy to use throughout the body that it was only concerned with food. When you do a ketogenic diet, food is the last of your concerns. You look at sugar like it's plastic. And the point I'm trying to make here is keto and bodybuilding is a very understudied area. And if you are interested in either fat loss or bodybuilding or a ketogenic diet or intermittent fasting or even a macro, if it fits your macros, calories in, calories out approach, just open your mind to learning more about these things. I'm going to be making more videos on biohacking bodybuilding because that's what I consider this to be. Managing your metabolism, managing your insulin sensitivity, managing how your body on a micro level will add muscle, lose fat, and retain muscle is a very big concern of mine and a very big passion of mine. So if you're interested in learning about any of those things, like these videos, subscribe to my videos, do all that stuff, and let me know what else you'd like me to talk about. So in case you're new to my page, my name is Anthony Romano, and I did have a lot of coffee before this video, but if you'd like to see more, subscribe to my page. Peace.